Today, House Republicans passed legislation to continue funding of the government while also defunding Obamacare. I don't think most people are going to be surprised by this. We've been leading up to this all week, but it did happen. Here are the results. The vote was 230 to 189, almost down the line, voting along party lines. There was one Democrat, McIntyre, who voted for.
Yeah, Scott Matheson, I think, did.
Jim Matheson, that's correct. Scott Rigell was the only Republican who voted against that bill. So they were able to do it. John Boehner is feeling fairly triumphant, I would imagine, at this point, after all the pressure that was put on him to... I'm just saying. And so we have him talking about it now. He sent it off to the Senate. This is what he said.
You know, we had a victory today for the American people. And frankly, we also had a victory for common sense. Yeah. Senator Baca said it right several months ago when he said that this law is a train wreck. It's time for us to say no. It's time to stop this before it causes any more damage to American families and American businesses. And so our message to the United States Senate is real simple. The American people don't want the government shut down, and they don't want Obamacare. The House has listened to the American people. Now it's time for the United States Senate to listen to them as well.
But I looked at his statement, and he kept referencing how they're just doing what the American people want. And they've been saying that in town halls across the country now for months. But of course, let's go back to 2012 and just look at the actual numbers. Democratic congressional candidates received 53,952,000 votes. Republicans received 53,402,000 votes. But thanks to the power of gerrymandering, the Republicans have a sizable lead in Congress that they did not earn by getting more votes from the American people. Now, so I just thought for historical purposes we should mention that.
Good point.
That's the House. Oh, and by the way, the Democrats have the Senate fairly comfortably. And oh, by the way, they have the White House. And oh, by the way, they comfortably passed a health care bill, which was incredibly hard to pass through the Senate and the House. And so which American people are you referring to? It appears the American people, through their representatives, already passed this bill, already funded this bill, and now here you come, Johnny-come-lately, saying that you represent the American people, when under no definition do you represent the American people.
42% of Americans on that Pew Research poll, I don't know if you have these numbers handy, but 42% are in favor of want to see the bill implemented. 27%, taking it up to 69%, don't really like the bill, but want Congress to get it and implement it and fix it and make it right. That's 69%. That's 7 out of 10 people, nearly 7 out of 10, who are either, I don't really like it, but let's go, it passed. And 42% of those who are like, yeah. So it's just horseshit.
Well, I don't know if you know this, though. To be fair, another number was the number of people who say, yes, defunding is the right strategy. That was 6%.
American people, 6% of the American people.
By the way, among Republicans, though, it did much better. It was 7%.
Yeah.
Among Republicans in the country, only 7% are in favor of this insane defund strategy that the Republicans just passed in the so-called House of Representatives.
18 million people is 6% of the country. Okay? That's a lot of American people.
That's right. And 292 million disagree.
Yeah, so
282 million, idiot.
We have an interesting little fact. So the entire purpose behind what the Republicans have been doing is, man, this is our last chance to get rid of it for now. Like, if it involves possibly shutting down the government, we're willing to do that. We're going to defund it. But ironically, according to a report, and this was from months ago, I hadn't been aware of it at the time, even if they defund it, they shut down the government, whatever, the government is shut down, that's not going to stop it from operating. We have a quote from the Congressional Research Service that says, "It appears that substantial ACA implementation might continue during a lapse in annual appropriations that resulted in a temporary government shutdown. It seems likely that the administration will continue to rely on alternative sources of funding to support ACA implementation activities." So even if the government no longer was receiving funding through Congress, they have other ways of getting the money to continue it.
Yeah. The Congressional Research Service needs to hire funnier writers.
It was super sexy when you read that, John.
Yeah, thank you. I tried.
So these Republicans are triumphant, as John said, and Boehner seems so proud, like, we did it. And this was a victory for common sense. But it was a victory, I guess, against the force of arithmetic. So
and political logic, too.
Right.
I mean,
common sense dictates that when you go to the Senate and Democrats control the Senate, you will not win there. And math also indicates that. And by the way, the president has a veto, and he clearly will not veto Obamacare. I believe his name
You know,
is Obama.
But the Republicans obviously want this, or at least the crazy Republicans in Congress. Now, they have lost significant portions of some rational Republican senators understanding that simply they've done the arithmetic. They know that they can't get it passed. Even some conservatives in the media are not on board with this. O'Reilly was discussing this, and he doesn't think it's a good idea either.
Fanaticism on the right also harming the country. Responsible lawmakers have to find a way to deal with their opponents in Congress. There's no way Obamacare is going to...
So basically, it's not going to happen. And I don't exactly know where we're supposed to go from here. Now, I understand that the Democrats probably will be able to get enough Republicans on board to shoot this down. I imagine...
They don't have to get any.
Well, they have to get a few.
Well, no, the decision has not been made yet on whether they're going to filibuster or not. So all this tough talk from Ted Cruz, and he hasn't even said he's going to filibuster.
He's going to filibuster or not.
Now finally they're talking about the standing filibuster, but it wasn't clear until very, very recently. So I find that amazing.
Well,
I mean, if you're going to make this kind of stand, you've got to filibuster.
You have to follow
He
through.
drove the House to do this.
Peter King has been attacking Cruz for a few days now. He continues to do so, speaking with Wolf Blitzer.
I would just say, if anything good comes from all of this, when Ted Cruz and Rand Paul and Mike Lee fail in the Senate next week, maybe finally we Republicans will have ended their influence. We as House Republicans should stop letting Ted Cruz set our agenda for us. He should stay in the Senate. He should keep quiet. If he can deliver on this, fine. If he can't, then he should keep quiet from now on.
Keep quiet.
Yeah, I mean, that this wing, that the Peter King wing of the Republican Party, which John Boehner, that's the party he knows how to lead.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to lead that branch. And now that crazy branch is actually coming around, but only because they're so furious at Ted Cruz for betraying them, because they were foolish enough to believe him in the first place, because they haven't spent 10 seconds figuring out how the American government works.
Just to give you an idea of the philosophical or ideological importance that some Republicans are putting on this battle, which seems like a complete waste of their effort that they've been organizing around it for months now. Representative Ted Yoho, who's popped up on the show before, is like starting to draw historical references and implying that this is important to some of the biggest and most important civil rights struggles of our time. He says it only takes one with passion, talking about what they'll need to do this. Look at Rosa Parks, Lik Walitsa, Martin Luther King. People with passion that speak up, they'll have people follow them because they believe the same way, and smart leadership listens to that. This is not at that level. Like, how deluded can you be to try to align yourself with the civil rights movement?
To say that
with solidarity?
Ted Yoho, of all people, with the civil rights movement, he is the most recent congressperson, the most recent elected official to bring up birtherism. He has said as recently as August of this year that if the president is not, we should re-examine this, because if he wasn't born here, then none of his legislation is binding, so we can just get rid of all of it. He's also the person who said that a tax on tanning beds in the Affordable Care Act is racist against whites. But here he is. He needs the passion of Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks, by the way, said 11 words her whole life. So if you're talking about passion.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty sure Lech Walesa spoke for the majority of Polish people as they were, being subjugated by the yoke of the Soviet Union and the Iron Curtain. I'm not sure Yoho speaks for the majority of the American people as he stands up against Obamacare, which was passed by the representatives of the majority of the American people.
Right.